We wake up every day thinking about what's going to happen today, right? We're all concerned. We're all worried. This is Dave Emmons, and it's the Dave Emmons Show, and it's chit chat without the S. Think about that one. But no, we have a crisis all over the world, and we have people in misinformation and disinformation, and we're talking about videos like this that are telling people this higher up was shot or hung yesterday. This person's going to prison. That person has gone. So that's why you don't see them. That's a crock. They're telling all these fabulous stories to get attention. I want attention to the truth. I don't want to hear all these videos and these people coming out and telling lies about what's going on. And all these stories that they come out with is incredible. You would think the world's coming to an end now. It's not, but it's slowly evolving downwards. Take a look at the lawlessness. The shooters, mass shooters, killing the kids in Texas, the people in Buffalo, for practically no reason at all, except for insanity. Right now, they're talking in Washington about gun laws. I'm a combat veteran, and I've handled guns all my life. Have I shot anybody? No. Do I have background checks? Yes, I do, here in Illinois. Darn right they do. And maybe the rest of the country should take after Illinois and do the background checks like they're doing. We have them for a reason. So people that aren't able to own a gun because of mental conditions or even a criminal record, that they might violate another crime, in which they're doing now. In a lot of these big cities with the DAs letting people go. You can kill somebody, run somebody over, and next morning you're released. And the bail's paid by, we don't know a lot of times who pays the bail for some of these people, but before long they're back in jail again. And probably they're going to be released again. That's the way the political party, that I don't want to get into political war on this message. I do want to say that if you're really making things easy for the criminal and difficult for the police, then you know who I'm talking about right now. And you look at the states that are trying to increase funding for police and not defunding the police. This is where this is all going. Easy broken laws, $950 limit for stealing. Can't go to jail unless you steal maybe 951. Ridiculous. Look at the laws. They can't pull somebody, a cop cannot pull anybody off the side of the road unless they have actual proof. And a lot of times they can't get that proof until they pull that car over. Even if that person has committed a sexual crime, that is really bad. That's what I wake up and I think about every day. What is the government going to do? Apparently, the administration does nothing. Look at the border. Look at the ICE agents, the police, state police, the National Guard. They're working 24/7 down there on the border just because we're not passing laws and regulations preventing thousands of people coming across the border as they wish anytime. The whole world now knows that that border, you can walk across it. Open borders is not what we want. Other countries don't have open borders. You go to other countries and they'll take a look at your passport and your visa, and they'll know when you're there 30 days and you got to get out. This don't happen in other countries. Why is it happening here? We got loose laws. We have laws that don't make any sense. The laws that are covering the prisoners, covering the criminals. When you break a crime, you do the time. I'm old enough to remember that line. But look at our country, the shootings. What's going on with the shootings? It's not the gun. There's a lot of people who own guns, but they're not going out there and shooting anybody. Myself included. We have background checks here in Illinois. and we're checked out. If we have a felony, or if we've been committed to any type of mental breakdown, we cannot get a permit to carry or even a FOID card to own a gun. And I think other states should follow. Do we like these laws? No, not really. The good person who doesn't commit crime does not like these laws. They actually go into more. Certain political parties want to take it further and take all your guns, in which, from what I'm hearing across the country, that's not going to happen. The AR-15, yes, I think the age should be 21. That's speaking from a veteran's point of view. 18-year-olds have been committing these crimes here lately. We should look at the age groups that do commit these crimes and what kind of pressure and psychological needs do they have. And actually, we should hold the parents or the guardian of these people, kids or whoever, that you can be 26 and 29 and be living at home in a basement and have guns. And if your parents don't pay any mind to you or pay any attention to you, they're not going to know or see what kind of problems this child has or older child has. Talk to counselors. Let these people know that your son, your daughter needs to talk to somebody about their problems. They're under distress. Everybody should be able to tell that. I know if I had a son, I'd do the same thing. I'd take him hunting. I've been hunting with my dad years ago. We were taught how to handle guns safely. We never were taught to shoot people except in combat and war. And I did that in combat, but that's where that's supposed to happen. Are AR-15s assault rifles? Not necessarily. It just all depends on what side of the party looks at the gun. And also, the 9mm was talked about the other day by the president about being a bad gun, but it's a gun that goes through you. He said that himself. The gun goes through. A lot of times those types of wounds, unless they hit something vital, they're not going to take your life. But other types of guns will. You can see the 9. You shouldn't be picking on just the 9. You got the 45, you got the 44 Magnum. Those are larger calibers. Just don't pick out on guns. That's what our problem is. We're trying to get this into a political squabble to where we're picking guns and picking and choosing guns to take away from people. What does that mean? That means you pick one gun, you're going to start here, everything's going to go right down to nothing. We'll be like England, Australia. The Second Amendment does count here, and I hope the Supreme Court upholds the Second Amendment. Other cases that we're talking about, I'm not going to get involved in those because I have moderate viewpoints on a lot of different positions. I'm not just on the right, and I'm not just on the left. I voted both ways. I can actually say that sitting here. It depends on the person, their policies, their rules, and the way they feel about America. If they love this country, and if they want to see this country progress, right now, we don't have too many people in government or higher up offices that really love this country. We need to get back to patriotism. Back in the 50s and 60s, when I was a kid, wow, it was like 4th of July, the flag and everything it was beautiful, it's nice. We didn't hear about that many shootings back then. I guess guns are more plentiful now. But if you take away guns from the good people, then the bad people are going to be the ones having the guns. That's another thought that I have about this issue. The bad people will be able to get guns through drug deals, through money deals, any way they can. They have them in Chicago, LA, New York. These people that shouldn't have guns, they've got them. How are they getting them? I think the police should be looking into that. Oh, I forgot. They fired about a third of the police in most of those towns, and they don't have crime units to investigate where these guns are coming from. They've taken away the funding for those types of programs. There is where some of the problem is at. Not only that, government policies, but also the mental aspect of this whole thing. People that are mentally ill are on the edge of breaking, and that's what happens. Their mind goes berserk. and they go berserk. They go out and shoot and kill. We need to take a look at the mental aspect and the red flag rules. Yes, that should be looked at, but that red flag should be only used when somebody who knows this person, who's a friend, acquaintance, or relative, if they know that person and can prove it, then take their word for what their actions are, or the person's actions that has these mental disabilities. But don't listen to some stranger on the street, or somebody ran into somebody at a nightclub and they had a fight, and then they go to the police and they say, this guy's crazy, he's got guns. They go to his house, take his guns. Red flag rule is not going to be very legal at that point. If they make parameters for this red flag rule, then that'd be fine. That would be good. But how can we trust the government that are well intended on getting rid of all of our guns, even from the good people? I'm talking about the guns first because I think that's a serious matter. We should take a serious look at it. Too much is going on, but we do need the police. We need to increase the police force, fund the police force, and get rid of these loose laws in these big cities and also some small cities. We have the same thing going on. A lot of people are depressed. I can see why. A lot of people I talk to say, oh my, another day, what's going to happen? Watch the news. Nothing happens. On the news, you hear a lot of hot air from all stations. I'm talking about all stations, left and right. All you hear are problems and hot air. You do not hear solutions. Same thing in Washington, D.C. These people should get together in Congress, get together some good gun laws, and try to compromise on the laws that are not taking all of our guns, but are working on the problem of the criminal and the criminally insane people. Red flag, and then the age, and then also hold the gun for 3 days when you purchase it, just like we do here in Illinois. Why don't the rest of the states take a look at what we're doing here in Illinois for the most part? Then you might ask, well, what's going on in Chicago? That's a whole different place. Here in Illinois, most of the state, not bad. You go to Chicago, oh yes, they got plenty of guns, but you also have policies there by the mayor and the rest of the people there that make up these policies. They're loose. They allow the criminal to break laws and not be afraid of any penalties. And then they can get released the next day and then they're gone. And they do it again. What do? We strengthen our laws, reinforce our police, develop agencies that work with the police, that look for these guns and look for these people that are on the edge. That's the thing about guns. Now, inflation is caused, of course, by gasoline and the transportation network. Diesel prices, $6, $7 a gallon. Gasoline prices, over $5 a gallon. I went to the gas station the other day and I told my wife, I put in $50 worth. It took me up to 3/4 tank. And I thought to myself, as I was standing there in front of these high prices, I thought, I just can't do this. I'm not going to put $100 in my car to fill it up. It's ridiculous because of a group, committee, or the government has made some unwise decisions about oil and fuel. Fuel costs go up, our food goes up. Also, the baby food disaster, we're having that. That's what, toilet paper disaster about 1.5 years ago. Now it's baby food. And why we can't get a handle on these things, why the government can't get a handle on these things ahead of time, like we've been hearing they heard about, but they didn't do anything about it. Is all this planned? All this is going on in the country. Is it planned? Or is it some stupid mistakes that people are making? Economists, cabinets, committees in the government, and actually all the way up to the president. We need to take a look at how we vote each time we vote. And I think a lot of people made a lot of mistakes by voting for people who don't care about this country. Number one, I don't care, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. I've seen some good Democrats and I've seen some good Republicans, and they're serious about this country. But then you have some in this government who wants to lean forward to the left and cause a lot of these problems. And that's why I wrote these books. First one is about my ET experiences. And it's called They, What Do They Want? And it's by Hanger One Publishing, Doug and Alex Hadjicek, great people. But I wrote that book to let people know that there is life out there, and open up our minds and our consciousness and say, yes, we need to take a look at all these things. And the government's talking about disclosure. It's not going to be a complete disclosure. People just have to get used to the idea they're going to have to find out on their own. When I went through all these ET experiences, I tell people these, and it's hard for them to believe. Sure it is. It's hard to believe. But for me, it's true. I would take a lie detector test to tell you that what I've been through is very, very true. So take a look at what the government's been hiding from us. Governments throughout the thousands of years have been hiding things from the workers and the worker bees, as they call it, as we are. The elites, the high ups, the people that are in charge keep a lot of secrets from us. The world is not what we think it is. Take a look at history. History is not what exactly it's supposed to be. In archaeology, they find changes all the time. They find out the human race is older than what it is. So if they can keep those types of secrets away from us, what do you think they're keeping from us now and what's going on? First, it was the virus. Now, both sides were hurt by the virus. That's not a partisan issue. That should have been a bipartisan issue, and I believe it turned out to be that way. So far, we're doing good, but now we look like we might have to start wearing masks again. But I think the distancing and the mask is a safety precaution. I'm not against any of that. I've had my vaccines. I know there's people who don't like vaccines, but I think you should take a look at vaccines and keep a distance. I think that works the best. The mask might help out some more, 20, 25%. But who am I to say? I'm not a doctor, so I can't tell people how to approach this whole virus thing. It looks like we're gaining herd immunity, like the doctor's been talking about. But that started things rolling downhill. And now we got policies that are hurting us the rest of the way in fuel and also shipping. We have a big hang up in shipping out there in the oceans. We're doing things or not doing things properly. Diesel, gasoline's up, inflation's up, food. Go to the grocery store now, you're spending 30% more for groceries. It's unbelievable. What can we do about all this? We need to settle down in Washington, D.C., and we need to admit when we're wrong. We need to do a bipartisan talk and get together and group together, get this country together before it's too late. We got China nipping at our heels, North Korea, Russia flaunting their nuclear weapons at us. And what are we doing? We're letting Putin bully us. That shouldn't happen either. But we can't have a nuclear war. That's one thing we cannot do. And I pray for the Ukrainians. And I agree with helping the Ukrainians, the bills that they've been passing in Congress for Ukrainians. I think that's great. Help them out as much as we can. But my second book is Senseless Wars. That'll be out in about a month. That's a book that I had some experience in, being in combat for a year, that when you go into a country like Iraq, Afghanistan, and even, down in Central America when we got involved with Noriega, all these things that we do in these countries, trying to turn them into a democracy, and they don't really want it. Just like the Vietnamese I talked to over there, they said they didn't care what government ran them or who was in control, long as they were able to plant their rice and eat. Same thing with Iraq and Afghanistan. They went right back to doing what they always do. 8 different groups in Iraq, the tribes that are talking to each other are not talking to each other. Some of them do, some of them don't. Right back to chaos. Afghanistan, right back to Taliban terrorism. Vietnam, all communists now. What we didn't want, we got it anyway. Senseless wars, blood and treasure spent for nothing. And I even look at the people in Afghanistan. I mean, even Afghanistan, Iraq, and all the people that died, all of our soldiers that died, it's a waste. Take a look at Ukraine, what's going on there. That's a total waste of human life, money, equipment. Even the Russian soldiers, I look at the young Russian soldiers, they're dying too. And I don't think they want to, but they have to. I'm hoping that a lot of them will pull out and say, okay, we've had enough of this. That'd be a good day for all of us to stop this war. But that's why I wrote the second book, to make people aware, remind them of our senseless wars, wasteful wars of blood and treasure. All of our soldiers, young people that died fighting for this country, or were they fighting for this country? We didn't think Vietnam was the country that we were going against, that was going to attack us here on our shores. But Germany, World War II, that was a necessary war. They were coming after us. They were going to go to war with us right here on our beaches. So we had to fight. Those were the sensible wars. But after that, like Korea, 40,000 people killed, our people. Vietnam, 58,400 killed in Vietnam, our people. And then you take the Afghanistan wars and Iraqi wars, not as many, about 4,500 in both wars. But the money and treasure, the trillions of dollars we spend on these countries, and they turn around and do what they want to do. Let's take a look at those factors. My third book is going to be about angels and watchers. And the reason for that is we need faith, love, forgiveness, and we need to build our characters back up strong again. Do what you think is right for yourself and your family, and do what you think is right for your country. And I think you're going to find out that doing anything good for your family and anything good for your country is the right thing to do. Sacrifice when you have to, but now we don't really need to sacrifice. It's policies that are hurting us right now. Gas and oil, food, shipping. We can do something about it. We can make policies that'll change all that. But there's some stubborn people that don't want to give in. And why? Is there a plan? They talk about conspiracies all the time. I don't want to listen to all the conspiracies. Like I said, these .com videos that we have, like I'm doing right now. Sorry, but I'm doing it too. But I'm not telling you outlandish stories about this person being killed or this person being jailed down at Guantanamo. Some ridiculous stories. And then about the voter fraud. These people were telling all these things, and now we're hearing that it's backfiring. It's not working. Why did they go into this and say it was corrupt, but not find any corruption? I think that's impossible, really. I think there's corruption in every election, but gross corruption could cause a person to win that shouldn't have won or didn't win to begin with. I'm not getting into that politics, but just like for you to look out for the books that I'm going to have. I'll be talking about them on WODY, Odyssey Radio. I'll be having a show about once a week. And I will be with Dr. James Weldon, and he'll be talking about spiritualism and also consciousness, in which we all need now today. We need peace, love, like the hippies were talking about back in the 60s, peace and love, but real peace and love, not the kind of peace and love they were talking about. They were talking about freeloading and doing drugs and illicit sex. That's what that was all about. But now peace and love has to mean something stronger. I want to thank you for listening. This is Dave Emmons signing off.